the air. Covered faces, nobody cares. Dragons in myth, watchers in stone, old gods wearing heaven's throne. They say chosen, I say scarred. Every vision hits too hard. Woe is me, I've seen too much, purified by a violent touch. 6 wings above me, scales below, truth injected, forced to know. Holy words cut like knives, burned alive to stay alive. If this is one, why does it wound? Sanctified too soon. Coal on my lips, fire in my veins, washed of sin but left insane. If angels bite and dragons kneel, tell me what is fake or real. 6 wings above me, scales below, no escape from what I know. Call it glory, call it sound, heaven's claws in sacred ground. If this is God, I stand condemned, sanctified, never end.
Hi, this is Neroke 5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribestar. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Welcome everybody to the Neroke 5 live stream. This is the part where I will do specifically manosphere related contents and issues. Kind of diverts. I will occasionally do manosphere content on RPN Hangout, but I mean, I needed to do a specific and special show on this because it's like, because sometimes, I mean, we do get a little carried away at RPN. So yeah. There are 3 topics tonight. Topic number 1 is false accusations. Now, this is an issue that I've run into, and it's one that I think if I was going to cover something as early as possible, getting out the gate on the show, and I mean, I am 17 shows in, so I've been sort of doing this for a while, and I'm at 480 on RPN. So it's like, with false accusations, you're respectful, polite, soft-spoken. In short, you're the nice guy. And you know what keeps happening to you, even though you're being accused, even though you're being all of those things, you keep getting accused by random women of stalking or harassing them. Of course, you didn't do anything. And by the way, this is I will get into this a little bit more because sometimes they are, right? But I mean, again, that's like, I'm talking about the ones that this just keeps happening to. You catch one of your friends warning other women about you, it ends the friendship. You ask yourself the question, why does this keep happening to me? Well, it's not, It's you, but not for the reasons that you think it is. Believe it or not, there is a solution out there for the problem. I'll go over the issue and what can be done to mitigate the risks can be which by the way, can be very damaging if you're not prepared for them. Topic number 2, Mikhaila Peterson. Jordan Peterson, now Mikhaila Fuller, tweeted yet another post-wall feminist response about older men liking younger women. Not Mikhaila Peterson herself, another woman doing it. Equating him to pedos, even though she mentioned it was under 23, which is a legal adult. She got ratioed a number of people stupidly coming to her defense and kept arguing even after. And yeah, like the Tate issue, I will definitely be bringing up, was openly exposed. Well, again, I'm not going to go into all the details, but yeah, another formerly hot woman bites the dust. And topic number 3. And yeah, I'm going to like copy and paste the archive. It is the archived version. I'm posting it up at the Rumble Studio. I'm going to post it up in the chat. And I'm also going to post it up on the Kick and the Twitch chat as well, so that you can add it. It is the archived version because somebody this fucking stupid and dishonest does not deserve to get any type of advertising revenue or any types of bonuses for being such a dishonest piece of shit. And yeah, that is just my personal take on it. So yeah, it is the archived version of the show. For those of you who don't know, my Patreon is down below. Yeah, I'm actually going to be paying a little bit more attention to that. Also, well, let me just get into topic number 3 here. Buzzfeed. Yes, Buzzfeed is still around. I was shocked as the next guy when I found this out. Buzzfeed was notorious in the past for posting up really bad research slop about the manosphere. In the past, apparently, though, they didn't get the message. So, writer Azani Dutes wrote this: people are sharing subtle signs that a man is red pill. So here are the 18 red flags you need to look out for. I'm going to have some fun with this. Again, you're seeing the archived version, not the actual version itself. If you feel you need to go over to the actual link itself, well, feel free. I can't stop you. I'm just saying, that you might not want to allow. If you're listening to this show and you're a member of the manosphere, you might not want to allow someone like this to be engaged in such dishonest pressure and allowing them to profit even slightly commercially from doing so. Now, I've gone over the site news. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to be trying to do an RPN and a Neroke 5 live stream in the same week. I do have other stuff that I have to do, and I actually do have a life. Yeah, I do actually go out and touch grass, although it is currently a balmy minus 25 degrees outside. I am wearing a shirt with 3 missing buttons and a dirty pair of track pants, and I don't give a fuck. I'm actually enjoying myself right now, and that's really all that matters, at least for me anyway. So yeah, I am at Patreon as well. It's the link is down below, and I'm going to be keeping the link down below for most of the show, or at least until I get the topic started anyway. I am at, although you might not necessarily, I am at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Parlor, not Parlor, Getter, TLB Talks. I am also at Rumble, obviously, BitChute, Odyssey, MGTOW TV, Bradeon, who needs to get their, they badly need to get their, they need to get their uploader fixed, and YouTube. And Also at Kick and Twitch, I really don't give a flying F about Twitch, whether Twitch buries my content or not. I have 2 whole subs on there. Like to say hello to the one person. Oh, no, I've got 2 people at Twitch right now, at Kick right now. I got 1 over on Twitch, which is a bit of a surprise. Welcome to the 1 listener on Twitch, and hello to the 3 p-hole people who are listening to me on Rumble right now. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm not boring the hell out of you. So yeah, let's just hop right into this, because there's not really, like I said, there's not really a whole lot of news to be covered. I will be doing the RPN show tomorrow night. That's really all you really need to know about that for right now. But yeah, let's just get into topic number 1 here. And I read the opening right at the start, and I'm going to hold on a second here. Let me just find the right photos for it here. There we go. I will start out with the photo of Nancy Grace. If you don't know who this is Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace was the head cheerleader for what would have been a false accusation, otherwise known as Duke Lacrosse, that would have destroyed the lives of 5 men. She stuck by the claim that they were guilty right up until the point where the prosecutor was like literally debunked. And by the way, the prosecutor in that particular case kept doubling down, even though it was fairly obvious as early as a day and a half into it that what Crystal Magnum was saying about that event didn't happen. Now, why am I bringing this particular event up? Because it's like, yeah, this is a false accusation of rape, and I'm going to be mostly dealing with false accusations of stalking, but there is an overlap between the two. And Nancy Grace is just an absolutely despicable fucking excuse for a human being. There was always something off about her, and there was always something wrong about her, and she never took any responsibility for the way she tried to railroad those 5 guys at Duke. If she'd had her way, those 5 guys' lives would have been destroyed. They might even still be in jail right now. So yeah, going back, because I said this right at the start, I'm going to read it off before. It's in the low bar here. False accusations. You're respectful, polite, soft-spoken. In short, you're that nice guy. And you know what keeps happening to you? Even though you're being all those things, you keep getting accused by random women of stalking and harassing them. Of course, you didn't do anything, but this keeps happening to you. You then catch one of your friends warning another woman about you. It ends the friendship. And you ask yourself a question. Why does this keep happening to me? Well, and this is going to be hard for some of you to swallow. It is you, but not for the reasons that you think it is. Believe it or not, there's a solution to this problem. I'll go over the issue and what can be done to mitigate the risk, which can be very heavy if you're not prepared. Yeah, it can be extremely heavy if you're not prepared. Which is why I think this needs to be talked about. And yeah, the reason why I wanted to start off with this particular topic is because there's already, and we have a couple of React, and 2 and 3 on this, there is going to be React content. Now, there's plenty of Manosphere React content out there. And I mean, there is definitely some things that need to be reacted to, and where there's going to have to be more of these reaction channels as the Manosphere, which, by the way, is growing at an absolutely massive incremental rate right now, is going to keep getting larger. Now, yeah. What did this one, like I said, this one is kind of personal to me. The reason why it's kind of personal to me is because I was that guy that I just described there, right? I haven't been that guy for well over a decade now since I discovered the manosphere. But I mean, it really wasn't until I was actually listening to a show on the old Tom Likas podcast. And he had on a woman by the name of Tara Palmatier. And Tara Palmatier, and guys, I need you to really be paying attention to this because I might literally be describing some of you. And when I listened to this and what Tara Palmatier talked about on this, I did a face palm so hard that, I mean, I almost put an indentation in my head. There is an archetype. And before I get into that archetype, I mean, you will hear feminists talk about these male feminists and how creepy they are, and how a lot of these male feminists do end up getting accused of things. In fact, there is a video which I might actually put down on the low bar, done by Sargon Avocad years and years ago, called "Beware the Male Feminist." Right? There's a pattern of this. Now, what really kind of struck me about that was that, oddly enough, one particular year, I believe it was 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. What happened that particular year is GQ and another, I can't remember who else it was, but there were two prominent publications, mainstream media publications, that went out and put forward and posted these hit pieces out 3 days before Christmas. And I personally because I mean, and it was done in a really cowardly way too. Like and it was done in a way where everybody was basically going out the door and heading to wherever for Christmas and didn't want to overreact or whatever. And it was the timing was suspicious. Well, turns out one of the guys that posted up this article was later on accused of being a creep. And his response when he got called out was to go, "I'm sorry," and blah, 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 blah. And there was also another individual around about 2017 when the Harvey Weinstein stuff happened. He, in the area that I live in Edmonton, he was a big, I would see this guy posting up on social media about being, this guy was progressive and male, and he was this big female feminist champion and all that sort of stuff. And he also, around about the time of Harvey Weinstein, he also ended up being falsely accused. Now, this is something that gets pointed out to male feminists by guys in the manosphere all the time. And and it is fundamentally true. Feminists will throw their male allies under the bus as soon as their either utility runs out or just because they can. And this has been told to a great number of male feminist allies. Some of them, and again, I've been around for a long time. I've seen cases where these guys have laughed it off, and then I find out later on that they have been accused of they have been literally thrown under the bus. But going back to the original Tara Palmatier issue, and this is I'm going to describe the typical personality of an individual that runs afoul and gets accused of being gets falsely accused. Polite, soft-spoken, considerate, generally falls into the nice guy category, but not necessarily all the time. Is not usually direct about what they want, which is really weird. You know, I'm gonna get off into that direct what you want. There was an individual that I worked with back when I first moved to northern Alberta, and I saw this guy do sexual harassment to another woman right in front of me. And I was like looking at him and going like, yeah, dude, you're gonna end up in trouble over that. It took him almost 2 years of him acting that way before he finally got pulled from a camp. Well, he was also not a particularly likable person and whatever, but I mean, I digress, right? You would figure that a guy like that that some woman would have fingered him right away and thrown him under the bus. But no, man, he lasted for a very, very long time. Whereas these polite, soft spoken guys, and like when she was describing me, right? Like back then, I wasn't a guy who made waves, although I was starting to. Yeah, again, it had been 2 or 3 years beyond. When was the last one? Yeah, it was about 5 years past the last time I'd been dealt with a series of workplace accusations. Soft spoken, polite, maybe not all that skilled. Some of them might even be Aspergery, although I'm not. Some of these guys might be a little bit immature, maybe not be able to read the room, but they're not what you call sexually aggressive. They're not handsy. They're not that type. But I mean, they also they're not really, and this is something else that I've noticed with a lot of these guys, they're not really solidly in touch with how to deal with their sexual energy either. And that's something that is going to be one of the things that I'm going to talk about when I get to the solutions part on this. But if I just described you, polite, soft-spoken, you don't make waves, you help other people out, you're not too pushing, you're not too aggressive, you don't go around stepping on toes, you don't go into a room acting like you own the place or anything like that. You're not one of those guys. Yeah, I mean, you're just a guy trying to get through life, right? Like you're not really trying to make waves. And yet this keeps happening to you, right? Like every once in a while. And eventually, and this didn't happen to me, but this did happen to another person that I knew that I was living in the area with back in 2019, where he had to end their friendship because this kept happening to him as well. And I had to be honest with him. And it was like, well, what happened with him is that, I mean, it kept happening. And what happens is along the way is you're like looking at all of these and it happens. And then it happens again. And then it happens again. And it happens again. And it's like, yeah, your friends and your family start looking at you funny. You're this nice guy. And some of the more pushy relatives will actually look at you and go like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what is your goddamn problem?" And you're absolutely like, you don't know. You literally don't know. I was smart enough when I had to deal with literally 2 in about 6 months. I finally I actually sat down and physically wrote out all of the factors, and I had to go back because there was like about 5 or 6 of them, and the consistent thing in all of them was me. And now I'm going to get into, and they all had a consistent pattern. I've gone into the personality type that you are. If you're one of these types of guys, I don't necessarily say you're a nice guy, but you're polite. You don't necessarily go around trying to cause trouble. right? You're just a guy trying to get by, right? Maybe you want to get a girlfriend, maybe you don't, but it's like, yeah. Now I'm going to get into some of the factors that cause this. And yeah, this is not just me. But if these have happened to you, or any combination of these have happened to you, there is a very serious possibility. And yeah, once I get through all of these, right, I'm going to tell you what's happening here, and it's not the answer that you maybe were expecting. Like, one, were you the last guy to find out? Right? This girl was harassing you, what it was you were talking to, and whatever, and then just out of the blue, one of her male friends or one of your friends comes up to you and says, "Why are you bothering this girl?" And it was like, well, in one particular case, it was like, who? Right? Like, you didn't know, right? Everybody else knew, but you didn't. She didn't tell you. Or even worse, and this is number two, she will give you and send you mixed messages. She will say things to you that can be interpreted two different ways. Now, I'm going into one of my personal. There was one I had one really bad one in 2001, right? We were kind of forced to cooperate with each other because of circumstances. I didn't want to. And here's the ironic part. We ended up having to cooperate with each other because some other guy who had a fucking wife had a crush on this other woman and thought it would be really nice to have her be my assistant, and actually openly suggested that. I can remember sitting there, and it was like I was like feeling really, really awkward, because it's like I didn't want to vote against it, because it's like, yeah, I don't want to vote. I don't want to have this woman around because like I'm attracted to her, and I think that would generate a conflict of interest. I didn't want to say that, right? But anyway, I had to, as soon as it was done, I had to go and I had to confess my feelings for her. And that's when things just spiraled. And at one point, she said something on the phone. And when the situation came to a head, the context, she said the exact same thing to all her friends, saying, "Oh, I told him this." And her exact response was, "I told him I wasn't going to be giving up my personal phone number." Right? Now, when the way she was saying it, she made it sound like it was me being pushy and demanding for her phone number, but it wasn't. I was having to add her phone number because we were both responsible for a group, and I would have to call her up on occasion. Right? That's why I needed her number. She left that particular context out. So the other question is, does she say stuff to you, mixed messages, that can be recontextualized after everything comes out? 3, does she have a past of doing this? Turns out, in literally every case that I had to deal with, and in the case of some of the other people that I had to deal with, yeah, that was an issue. Is she a feminist? Yeah, that's not an absolute that it's gonna be the case, but yeah, that one's gonna also come up. By the way, most women have been properly bought into the cult of feminism. I hate to say that to you, but that's the case. Number 4, does she keep pushing this even after this? Is there not really like, are you not getting any others? Does she keep pushing this even after the problem is done? Like, suddenly you don't know, then it's revealed, then it becomes a problem, right? Like there's very little sign of any problem before, right? The other one, does she again, does she have a habit of doing this in the past? Turns out, at least with two of these women that I found out with about, there was like, at least in my particular situation with two of these women, yeah, they had done stuff to other guys in the past. 4, 3, does she have daddy issues? That's kind of what was kind of hard to deal with. Does she have a history of mental illness? That's a big one as well. Drug addiction, by the way, is considered an illness. Does she have one of those? You know, there's a few others in there, but yeah, like, does she send you mixed messages? Does she make things vague? Are you the last one to find out? Like when she, like, does she suddenly become Jekyll and Hyde? Does she continue to send you mixed messages even after this happens? That's another one. That is really fucking confusing, right? Strong suggestion, if you're getting somebody who's sending you mixed messages like that, even after she has accused you of something like that, like, do not fucking go there. Okay? Like, you're just asking for trouble. Like, you're just really asking for trouble. Yeah. So you're stuck there. And I was also stuck there. You're stuck there and you're left scratching your head, wondering. And sometimes you literally have relatives or friends like coming up to you and asking you, like, what is your goddamn problem? Why does this keep happening? And in a lot of cases, and thanks to the cult of feminism and thanks to the gynocentric society we're in, like, the guy, as a guy, a lot of guys will just assume that it's them, right? At no point, and this is the big reveal here, at no point do any of them, a lot of guys, and you have to be told this, is that there are women out there, because of the lack of accountability, because of everything else that's going on, that specifically, especially if she's got the track record for doing this in the past, right? That specifically go out and look for guys like this to accuse. And the reason why it's typically the quote unquote soft spoken, nice, polite guy, as opposed to, say, the ugh, the blatant creep that will grab a woman's boob publicly in front of everybody and that type of thing, and won't, and have absolutely no compunction or shame about doing it. The reason why that guy doesn't have to deal with the problem is because if you go after a guy like that, that guy is going to make fucking waves. That guy is going to push back, right? They pick the softer targets. They pick the guys with whom they know are not going to make waves, the ones that are not going to push back, the ones that are thinking, oh, well, this is just a misunderstanding, right? Like, I can work this out, right? Like, let's talk. Let's right? Like, and you're kind of left there and you're just like, yeah, you're just stunned. And it's like, again, right? Yeah, it is you. But again, as some of you who are going to be listening to this later are finding out, not for the reasons that you think you are, not because, and I have to throw this caveat in before I continue here. Yeah, there are actually some creepy nice guys. Okay? There are guys who are creepy and nice with an agenda. That does happen. But I'm talking about the guys that aren't like that, right? And you're like, what the hell happened? Right? Yeah, it's you. but not for the reasons that you think it was. The reason why it's you is because, and this is just a theory of mine, is because they think that they can do it to you because you're the nice guy. You're the polite guy. You're not the one that's going to make waves. You're not the one that's going to scream and yell and cause problems for her, right? Because heaven fucking forbid that the woman should have to take some accountability in her life, right? Like, she just wants the melodrama. She wants the attention. And yeah, by the way, that's another warning sign. Is she extremely narcissistic? That's another big sign. Really self-centered. I can specifically recall the one in 2001, and I remember this quite specifically because I actually got to look at some of her behavior after the fact, right? She was front and center, which is, by the way, why she got nominated to be my number 2 on this one group. She was front and center with helping out some other person that was dealing with trauma and was dealing with it publicly, and everybody was like going over and hugging the person and whatever. Like, she was right there with water, with towels, with hankies. She'd go over and give them a hug and whatever. When you take a step back and you actually look, one of the things that I noticed, and this is something that I noticed about literally every single one of these women, unless they were specifically asked, they never actually volunteered to help anybody, or never volunteered. Like, she'd never like help out at events or whatever. She would just show up, right? Like, she was never there helping the other women unless it benefited her or she was publicly asked. I noticed that with literally all of them. Again, correlation is not causation, but you need to be paying attention to stuff like that. You do. So what are the solutions to this? Because, like, this, again, right, it's not necessarily just about the false accusation. It's about the loss of reputation. It's about the humiliation. It's about the gossip. It's about everything else that goes wrong because of the accusation, right? The specific event, like the last time this ever happened, I remember, because I actually still, me and the same guy who was around when this last time this happened to me, we were working together at a different company, and he actually had HR, the head of HR, try to come over and because what ended up happening in that particular case is that I just happened to have access to the cameras, and there was some really weird and strange behavior about it. And I set up the cameras and went over and I spoke to her directly in person. And she chose to double down and escalate. She didn't have to, but she did. And I think you'll love this. She was dealing with another harassment / stalking situation. She was in the middle of a court situation around that. By the way, that's also another red flag, right? Like, has this stuff happened before? I went over and got the evidence, and it was a good thing I did too, because I then had to deal with an HR, head of HR at this particular company, that chose to believe her. And this is the situation that you're going to run into quite frequently. You're just going to believe her. There's going to be guys that are just going to believe her no matter what. I've read stories, and again, I have to fall back on my personal experience here. There was an individual tied in with these groups that I belong to, who was literally going to other meetings and openly talking about about wanting to kick my ass and do harm to me. Like, I actually had to show up at another meeting specifically to deal. He wasn't there, but I mean, I had to go and I had to specifically show up at that meeting to let them know that I wasn't going to run and hide, because this guy was talking about committing physical harm to me behind my back over a woman he wasn't even fucking sleeping with. So that's the thing, right? You lost your reputation, white knights, potential job losses, potentially getting fired, potentially looking at criminal charges. You know, what do you do? Okay, I'm going to break this down into two parts. Is what do you do in that particular situation, and what do you do to mitigate the situations before it even goes on? Now, there is a book written by a guy by the name of R.K. Hendrick who goes into how to conduct yourself, how to get laid without getting screwed, by R.K. Hendrick. I will put the link to that book down on the low bar if you're interested. I think it's a very, very good book for you to go through. It'll basically instruct you on all the things that you need to do to avoid having to deal with getting yourself in trouble at work. What do you do when this happens afterwards? One, you need to put as much distance between you and the accuser as possible. Now, if you live in a city, that's actually pretty easy. You may have to change, and I did have to, like, on one particular occasion, I had to stop going to one particular coffee shop, right? But I mean, it was like, if you're living in a city, that's actually fairly easy. But if you live in a small town, and I had to deal with this shit in a small town. Small towns are nasty for gossip. And I mean, I was dealing with gossipy bullshit around this particular issue months, even years after the actual event itself occurred. And you put as much distance. You also, and this is really important for you, is as much as some of your friends might judge, you need to recruit allies. You need to let your friends in your support group, and specifically, you also need to let other women know what's going on. It does help to deflect the situation. Recruit allies. So if some asshole decides to white knight, like he's not going to be able to just come in straight in. Like, he's going to have to go through your friends to get to you. If she persists in doing this, and I mean, I have had to do this on one occasion. There was one of these women that literally sent a person into my workplace to harass me about the situation. I had to go and report her to the police. If it gets to the point where she is interfering in your day-to-day life, like you can't go to the store, you can't go to the bank, you can't work, you can't do any of these other things, right? Because she keeps throwing stuff in that just interrupts your day-to-day life, you have to go to the police. You have to file a report. Make sure you save the incident number. Reason why you save the incident number is because if something negative happens and she's looking for an easy scapegoat, they're going to be looking for you, right? They're not going to ask questions. They're just going to assume that you did it. They're not like this is going to be a hard one to get around, but a lot of these people aren't even going to bother to ask. They're just, if something bad happens to her, she disappears, whatever, the police, her friends, they're going to be knocking on your door first, whether you were involved or not, right? that can get really, really awkward really quickly. The Don't get caught with her either on purpose or accidentally. If you're in a room with her by yourself, get the fuck out of that room as quickly as humanly possible. If you're in the same space with her, even if it's, say, down in a food court or something like that, or even if it's in a mall, get out of the mall. Yeah, I know. Like, there's guys in the man. There's going to be some red people. You don't fucking give up your power. It's like, yeah. That's really fucking helpful. If the police fucking come or her fucking friends decide that this is the day they're going to fucking teach you a lesson, and there's 5 of them and there's 1 of you. Right? Go someplace else. Don't go into a place. Don't go into the mall where she works. Don't go into the building that she works in. Like, put as much distance between her and herself and you as humanly possible. None of her friends are your friends. Now, I had a really, like, the one that occurred back in 2001, I actually ended up having to be in a theater and a film project with her best friend later on after the fact. That was awkward as fuck. That was really awkward as fuck. But yeah, you know what? You have boundaries and you have to enforce them. And yeah, I hate having to say this, but you're going to have to give up some of your power, and you're going to have to, if she's around you, you're going to have to go somewhere. Now, and to just let as many people around you know what she is doing. Right? That's probably really important as well. Keep the police file number. You might even want to, and this is covered in our Kay Hendricks book, you might want to actually, if this gets really serious, you might actually even want to do something like keeping track of your keeping personal track of where you are, who you're interacting with, right? Because yeah, some of these women are not going to take accountability. They're not going to accept responsibility for their actions. And yeah, if it gets really bad, you could end up being fired, blacklisted, injured, killed, slandered beyond all things. You permanently lose friendships. There's a lot of things that could happen. And, it can create a lot of stress. If it gets, especially if you're in a small town, you might even want to consider especially if you live in a small town, you might want to consider a geographical move just to get out from underneath it. Even going to the next town over might help. Recruit allies. Now, here's the thing. And this is something that I ran into. What if you hit a HR representative that is mishandling a false accusation? This didn't happen to me. It was fairly straightforward. But I mean, right, there have been examples of this. There was one guy who was actually in the process of getting his Rhodes Scholarship and lost all his credits on his Rhodes Scholarship. Because of this, he apparently got them back, but some woman made an accusation about him, and he never actually physically found out who it was. They didn't give him any documentation. They didn't give him any chance to defend himself. They just let the gossip mill, and in the leadership didn't help him out or anything like that. Now, fortunately, in the case of this particular guy, he was in an Ivy League school, so he had rich parents. So yeah, they fucking lawyered up. You know, this thing here that I'm reading, the accused isn't given a chance to respond or share their side. Yeah, that's the women who do this thrive on that. They look for gullible guys that will just react and not look. People around won't bother, and again, this also happened back with the one in 2010 with me. They won't do a proper investigation, or they will, like, literally, in the case of the one in 2010, they will, like, literally try to get fellow employees to turn on you. They will let the gossip mill do it. Yeah, loss of promotions and whatnot. He's been on the show. He's been on the show quite a bit. Something happened to his brother, and his brother lost the ability to get promoted at the job he was at, and finally had to leave. Yeah, the investigation is done, but you know what? If it turns out that the woman lied, the woman is not held accountable. And by the way, very often and very frequently, the woman isn't held accountable. So, just giving you a heads up on all of this. So, the last part of this is, what do you do to avoid having this happen to you all the time? Because it is you, and this is the good part about this, is that there are actions that you can personally take that can save you a whole shitload of aggravation on this. First of all, when it comes to work, don't dip your pen in company ink as much as humanly. You're there to work. You're not there to meet women. Fucking work is not a place to meet women. You want to fucking meet women, you do it elsewhere, but you don't do it at work. 2, you know what? If people complain about you not doing that at work, or somebody at HR or one of your bosses tells you, just tell them flat out why it is you're doing that, right? If they don't agree with it, that's a them problem, not a you problem. If they keep pushing you on it, maybe you might want to switch jobs. 2, do not move in on a woman unless you have IOI that goes above and beyond 100%. Like, you can't, if it's like, well, does she like me? If you're asking that question, then you don't move in. Period. End of story. You have to absolutely know for sure. There cannot be any vagueness about the situation. You either have to know or not know. That's really what it boils down to. And it has to be absolute, because if it's not absolute, right, if it goes to the courts, right, and it comes down to vagueness, there's a very, very solid chance that the courts are going to side with her. And yeah, you have to treat, for those of you, by the way, who are thinking, oh, well, you're sounding really paranoid. I really don't give a fuck, right? Tell that to the fucking people that have had to go through this, right? That have had to have their lives, like, literally destroyed, who had to serve fucking jail time over false accusations, or have had their careers destroyed because of this, right? Tell them that they're being paranoid, right? If something feels off, it probably is. One really good way is sometimes, and this has happened to a lot of guys. They will do, like, here's one, and I've read about this in a number of places, and I've actually had it happen to me in person, right? I'm going into a place, and this woman who I've had some interaction with suddenly goes to the back, right? Don't think anything of it, But as I'm going in, her friends are all looking at me real funny. You get that? Yeah. I immediately, like, this was a gym that I was going to. I immediately switched gyms, right? It was a franchise gym. I could go to another gym and not have to deal with that, and that's what I chose to do. Not worth the trouble. Um, the other thing too is have specific healthy boundaries about yourself, right? Don't worry about what, like, understand in your heart of hearts, understand that you're going to have terms and principles and values, and you're going to have to stick by them. Even when that fucking hottie, who quite clearly is interested in you, but you're in a workplace. Yeah, I hate to fucking say it, man, but you're going to have to fucking walk away from that. Even if you're getting the 100% IOI, you still have to fucking walk away from that. Why? And I mean, I get it. You're going to be angry. You're going to be frustrated because some other guy is going to get in there and get in with her. And you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be banging your head against the table going, coulda, woulda, shoulda, mighta. Right? And there's that little voice in the back of your head that's going to be going, meep, 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 and that little fucking voice doesn't give a shit about facts, right? You're dealing with that and you're feeling really frustrated. I mean, what I've done and what I've seen a couple of other people do is they go for a walk. And what happened with me is that I had to actually take that part of myself and go for a walk, and I had to sit him down in my head. I had to sit this little whiny brat down, and I had to explain to him in no uncertain terms that this was not going to happen and it was just going to have to deal with it. And you can keep whining and crying all you want to in my head, but you're distracting me from what I need to do, and you're distracting me from my work. You're distracting me from this. You're distracting me from that. So yeah, you just need to accept that this is not a negotiable term. This is not a negotiable idea. You have these principles, and those principles are there for a fucking reason, and you're not going to bend them because some fucking hottie in that place is batting her fucking eyes at you and some other guy got her. Yeah, that's true. Hey. Sucks to say that. You're probably better off in the long run. When you're going out, this is something else that I would highly recommend. Don't necessarily have to become a full-blown pickup artist, but learn a little game. Figure out the game. Learn a little bit of game. Reason why you need to learn a little bit of game is just because you need to sort of like get used to maybe talking to a few more people. Also, they're talk about something in the PUA community about maintaining frame. Yeah, build up your frame. Frame is not dominance, by the way. Frame is maintaining. The other term that I heard about it, and I heard this from Sterling, is integrity. Like, have a purpose for what it is you're doing, right? Like, when this show is over, I am going to be getting up, I'm going to be going to the coffee shop, and I'm going to be chilling out, and I'm going to be listening to music. Now, some fucking woman happens to be there and shows me some interest. I might move in, I might not. But I'm there for coffee and tunes, first and foremost, and maybe some journaling. Not there to meet women. So yeah, develop some frame, develop some game, learn to read some people, have some terms and some principles. Don't get involved with people at work, and don't move in on a woman unless you have IOIs that absolutely indicate that she's interested and the opportunity is there. And if you have to pass up on something and some other guy gets her, too bad, so sad. And I get it. Well, people who follow their principles have their principles and nothing else. Trust me, man, like in a lot of cases, you'll be better off for having them. So those are the things you got to do. Last thing, also, and this will be covered again, I will put the book down below. If by some chance you do end up with a woman, you take precautions. If she says no, you get up immediately, you leave. You document stuff. You make sure that the condoms that you use don't just you don't just throw the Coast condoms in the bathroom. You take those condoms to the fucking toilet. You toss them down the fucking, you see those condoms go down the toilet. You make sure, if you can't do it before, you do it afterwards. Make sure you have potentially covered yourself legally for the after. That way she cannot falsely accuse you. If you have to, go run through the events of where you went with her and what you said and whatnot, and see if there's any cameras in the area. Make note of those cameras, because, man, that could end up saving your ass. Like, yeah, you have to fucking document yourself. And again, if you're thinking I'm being paranoid, well, you know what? I did have the brains to document an interaction with somebody after the fact, and it saved my ass. Right? So it does help. Another good thing, and I don't want to start getting into like false accusations of sexual assault and that type of thing, because I'm more dealing with false accusations around workplace and stalking and whatnot. Really look for the red flags: tats, nose rings, brightly colored hair. What is that knocking sound? Brightly colored hair. Feminist friends, loose sexual morals, other signs of mental drug addiction, alcoholism, compulsive gambling, any of those things, right? You start looking for those things. Yeah, like one night stands are not what they used to be. And just remember, it only takes one. So, yeah. To the good guys out there that keep having this stuff happen to them, no, you're not. Again, there are some guys that actually do have an agenda, and I do have to throw that in as a qualifier. But no. There are women out there that are doing this very much on purpose, and you need to be aware of that. And the good news is because there is things that you can control in the situation, you can avoid the worst. Right? You can avoid those types of women. And yeah, there might come a time when society will change. You could take some solace in one thing, though. Again, I realize that karma is not necessarily the happiest way of dealing with the situation. Hold on a second. But karma does catch up to these women. The one that I was dealing with way back in the 90s, she actually ended up moving up to I didn't know this. She ended up moving up to northern Alberta too. She was actually in a city council in a town about an hour and a half out of where I was, out of Edmonton. I had no idea. She was a city council member for 11 years. I had been to that town multiple times and I had no idea. I had driven right past where her husband worked. She was politely asked to resign her she was politely asked to resign her her council person position after 11 years. Don't know the exact circumstances, but I do know that in this particular case that the media made a very big deal about it. Don't know the details, but again, karma does catch up to these women. And if you have anything more on this, I would tell you, but essentially what it boils down to is don't necessarily be yourself, but redefine yourself. Have boundaries, have frame, have a few more social skills, get out a little bit more, mingle a little bit. And not necessarily mingle with women, just mingle with people. Don't be a shut-in, right? And if it does happen to you, recruit friends. And, like keep these women as far away from you as possible. Like you need to be the master of your own sexuality and you need to be the master of access to you. And you have to hold on to those terms, irregardless of the circumstances. And yeah, that's about it because we have a couple of other topics to cover tonight. So yeah, let's move into topic number 2. Now, this is Mikhaila Peterson, daughter of Jordan Peterson, probably one of the biggest counterculture people out there. I have read his book, 12 Rules for Life. Now, I was thinking at the time that it was just going to be a young man's book. I actually got a lot out of it. Mikhaila is mentioned frequently in there. She had a ton of medical issues as a kid. She is twice married, 2 different kids with 2 different baby daddies, and that's going to come up big time here. But yeah, Mikhaila Peterson, for reasons unknown, decided to post up this. I figured out why the Manosphere and Grippers like women under 23 because they're naive. I certainly was. Nobody older or wiser would sleep with any of them. Children is the best shot they've got. Loser pedos. Yeah. First of all, and this got pointed out on her Twitter feed, 23 is legal. 23 is a legal adult. You can sit there, you can be one of these fucking pathetic fucking simps and start screaming at me and tell me that it's not true. But yeah, 23 is fucking legal. Right? I don't give a shit about your moralistic fucking leanings on this. Right? 23 is legal. Fucking deal with it. They don't know what it is that caused her to do this. When I was talking to a couple of other people offline earlier today, Mikhaila is not stupid, right? She's not the type of person that will just, Lauren Southern tends to be a lot more impulsive. Mikhaila is not some woman that will just randomly give in to impulsivity. But so something happened. The husband got caught cheating with a younger woman, or some guy that she was having a sidebar with decided to leave her for a younger woman. She ended up losing something to a younger woman, and it was something that was rather personal to her, which years ago would have just been handed to her. Something happened. I don't know what it is, but it was obviously rather personal because it's like it is really unusual Mikhaila Peterson is not the type of woman that you would expect would go and do something like this. Of course, though, Mikhaila Peterson got absolutely roasted in the situation, and specifically what caused her to get roasted was this. I will get into this in a second. She got basically spit roasted for this. And what was really, and this is, I remember I was telling you about white knights earlier. There were all sorts of white knights and fanboys that were going in and saying, well, all you have is a bunch of photos and whatnot. Well, again, unfortunately, you know, when you start fucking with the manosphere is gonna hit back. Like, the manosphere is definitely gonna hit back. Now, let's go back to this photo right here. Okay. A lot of photos of Mikhaila Peterson, she does herself up a lot. Like, she really pays a lot of attention to her appearances. That is going to be rare. And it's like, I'm going to bring this photo up here. Take a look at the photo. Take a look at her. Now take a look at this photo. Now take a look at this photo. And then take a look at this photo. I will get into why that is so important. Now, the argument that I kept getting on this, and the reason why Rollo Tomasi had to reply to this, and why a lot of other guys in the manosphere also had to come out swinging on this, was because, you know, all of these individuals, all of the people who are talking about this, were talking specifically about the fact that all they had were a couple of photos. And none of them, again, there is direct evidence, and then there is indirect or evidence of circumstance. And the evidence of circumstance in this particular case really don't play very well. Now, I've got all three photos up right now. Just have a quick look at all three of these photos, okay? The photo on the left, the photo on the upper right, and then the photo, and take a look at how she's dressed and whatnot. Now, I'm going to play Mikhaila Peterson's reaction to her visit with Andrew Tate, and then I'm going to go through these photos one at a time, right? Because there's been a lot of people who, like, not only did they try to deflect away from what was going on, but even after the evidence was presented, some of these idiots still kept doubling down. But this was Mikhaila Peterson's response in her own words. 30 seconds. Here we go.
Me to come see his house and talk business. And he flew me over there. I was there for a day. He was talking about starting a paywall, trying to figure out how to monetize content. So we took a couple of photos, one's in the cigar lounge, and then I flew home. Just because I flew over there and talked to him doesn't mean there was anything sexual that occurred.
Okay. Did you notice the hoop ear? Like, you know that statement, the bigger the hoop, the bigger the hoe. Like, yeah, did you notice the hooped earrings? I'm not saying that that's a sign, but I mean, yeah, like, not, that is, like, I mean, like, I've noticed that. If for instance, and I'm not going to go into details. If you bother to look at a lot of the porn stars and how they're dressed and what they're wearing, and specifically the jewelry, you will notice that a lot of the women in the porn industry will wear those big, huge ass earrings, right? There is some validity to the bigger the hoop, the bigger the hoe. So yeah, this is what she said. And of course, right, because she's she's got no boobs. At least not in any of these photos does she have any boobs. But I mean, she's a solid 8 or 9, right? She's not a 10, but she's up there, right? And but yeah, let's just go through this one photo at a time. Now, this is photo number 1. Okay, this is them at the cigar shop. First, this was compiled by Raul Tomasi. Tomasi is a guy who's known for dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And he's also very good at reading female body language and how they're dressing and how they're acting and what they look like and so on and so forth. This image, first image, hair is done, her signature overdone bright red lipstick is evident. She's wearing a black jacket and white shirt underneath, red purse for pack thing. Likely she just arrived and they went to the cigar place. So look at the kind of response. There's definitely, if you're looking at Mikhaila, there's definitely a look of interest. There's definitely IOI stuff going on there. Of course, there's probably going to be some male feminists. There's a bunch of fucking women there going, no, it's not necessarily like it's like, yeah. Like, there's definitely some type of interest going on there, right? Let's move on to photo number 2. Second image, sitting on the couch at Andrew's place, black mini skirt, same white top, same black jacket, hair still done, and red lipstick still apparent. Also, you can barely see the clunky shoes she's wearing. Yeah, those clunky shoes are going to be really important when you look at this next video. It's only going to be 7 seconds long, but I think it's going to be really telling because she clearly changes in this one. Let's have a look.
Once you've been a fighter, what other competition matters? Like, how can I possibly...
Let's have a look at that again.
Fighter, what other competition matters? Like, how can I possibly have interest in putting a ball in a net when I've been smashing people's skulls in for 15 years? Once you've been a fighter, what other competition matters? Like, how can I possibly have interest in putting a ball in a net when I've been smashing people's skulls in for 15 years?
Okay, make a note of the shoes. Make a note. She has changed from this photo. She's in different clothes. Okay? Clearly they're out for the evening. He hadn't gone out. He's dressed in. Let's go. Just take a look at this one more time.
Once you've been a fighter, what other competition matters? Like, how can I possibly have interest in?
Yep, same clothes, same exact clothes. So Andrew Tate has not changed. She has. There is a that's going to be very telling because a lot of people were like going, oh, well, all they have is this one photo. Well, what one photo are they talking about? They are specifically talking about this one. Third image, cocktail date. She's in a cocktail dress. Hair looks much different from the other images. No lipstick. Andrew's hand is on her ass, and she's got that post-fuck afterglow smirk. I get there's got to be a few feminists, and there's probably potentially a few fucking progressives that might be watching this at some point. But yeah, that is exactly how she looks. She's removed her makeup. Her hair is now not, and I'm going to bring this up. Look at how her hair is done. Look at how her hair is done. Look how her hair is not done. Look at how her lipstick is gone. Look at how a lot of her makeup's been removed. Look at the body language. Look at how they're responding to each other. Right? That is not the body language of two people that are just discussing business, right? Woman would not have allowed a woman like Tate to get that close to her unless he'd already been there in the first place. So, was there something sexual going on here? There's no smoking gun. There is enough, and specifically Rollo Tomasi's post fuck afterglow smirk. Yeah, that's exactly what she's got. Because I've seen that smirk, right? Seeing the tousled hair, seeing the lack of makeup, and it's like a very different look. And it is the same person that is in this dress here. Let's just have a look at this video again.
Once you've been a fighter, what other competition matters? Like, how can I possibly have interest in putting a ball in a net when I've been...
See, look, her hair's still done there. Hair's all over the place here. And also, yeah, going back to that first video, like, take a look at how Mikhaila Peterson is a woman that puts a lot of effort and a lot of work into her appearance. So this particular, how this photo, yeah, it's just one photo, but god damn it, it is one photo that looks very goddamn incriminating. And it speaks volumes about what actually is happening. You know, the post-fuck afterglow smirk. Yeah, I have seen the post-fuck afterglow smirk, right? Again, before, after, before, after. Lastly, Mikhaila, you know, she talked of him, but again, right, I'm going to be old and fucking pruny before I hear Mikhaila Peterson disavowing Cher or Madonna or Jada Pinkett Smith or any of those teachers that were molesting their students. And there's been Rollo Tomasi's done a lot of research into this. These former teachers that are now in jail who sexually molested like students, some as young as 11 or 12, right? Like, still waiting for these white knights and these feminists or even some of these prominent women to speak out about that. Still waiting. Now, again, I don't know what happened here. Whatever happened with Mikhaila Peterson was probably something personal, and we will probably never find out exactly what that is. That being said, though, you know, she really stuck her foot in her mouth. And I mean, she wasn't exactly a big, she does a lot of interviews. So yeah, there is a heavy feminist influence when it comes to Mikhaila Peterson, you know. But yeah, take a look at this photo, the one that I posted back up here again. Yeah, she pays. If there's other photos, if you go online and look for photos of her, she puts a lot of effort into her appearances. And in this photo, she doesn't have, makeup's gone, lipstick's gone, right? Maybe even a little bit of, you know what? Not a smoking gun, but very incriminating. To the individuals that tried to defend her and tried to defend this position, and trust me, there were a few of them. Here, let me just break this down for you, right? Age of consent varies, but in the U.S. for the most part is 16. Not that I'm good, not that, and again, let me emphasize this because there's going to be some fucking creep down the road that's going to suggest that I'm endorsing this. No, I do not endorse going after 16-year-olds. Okay? Pointing out that 16 is the legal ceiling for consent does not make me a fucking pedophile. Pointing out legal facts does not make me a pedophile. Pointing out that the voting age, which is more or less what my minimum, although I haven't gone down that far in a very, very long time. You know, able to vote, out of high school, but voting age is legal everywhere in North America, right? I've had a long line and procession of individuals start to scream and yell at me that it's not. I really don't give a fuck about their moral attitudes, especially when this self-same crowd. And yeah, I have gone and looked at the Twitter profiles and the Instagram profiles of some of these women that start screaming, whining, and bitching because guys in their 30s and 40s and 50s will go out and get with women in like 18 to 24, right? And will get with these women and they will scream and yell and threaten about that. And will give, and there's, of course, there will also be no fucking shortage of male simp fucking white knights and fucking manginas that will also do the same thing. Yeah, you know what? Legal's legal. And yeah, the age of consent, pointing out the age of consent does not make me a pedophile. I challenge any of you motherfuckers out there to prove otherwise. Again, in saying that, I'm going to point out that I do not personally engage in that type of behavior. But, and there's a but in there, but if I go to the coffee shop and there's a 21-year-old college, and this has happened, where there's a woman in her early 20s that happens to take an interest in me. And by the way, that still happens, even though I usually, when I go out, man, it's like I usually go out with a purpose. And that purpose is never to meet fucking women. There's been college age women that I've had some fun with, right? And I'm not a young man anymore, right? Legal adults, both of us, and they were consenting. It doesn't matter what somebody else thinks. It doesn't matter what your fucking feelings are telling you, right? Legal is legal. And I don't give a shit if anybody feels otherwise. So with that, though, let's move into topic number. And hold on a second here. One last thing. I don't think Mikhaila's ever going to be listening to this. But Mikhaila, whatever your fucking problem is, get fucking past it. And yeah, play with the bull, get the fucking horns. You chose to take a fucking run at the manosphere after you had slept with Andrew Tate. And there's very, very, very strong evidence that you did do exactly that. Look at her. She's on the left. That is a post-bad. That is a post-fuck afterglow smirk. Right? You can sit there and say that it didn't happen because I can tell just from some of the photos that I have seen of you that appearances are very important to you. In fact, if you look at this photo, in this photo, you took a long flight and you still took the time while you were on the flight and while you were at the airport to touch your appearance up. But you didn't touch your appearance up here. Don't care. Fuck your feelings. Anyway, that's all I got to say on this topic. Let's move on. Ooh, I forgot to write down the time. I'm going to have to remember that. Okay, topic number 3. Topic number 3. Wow. Okay, I want to thank Manosphere Highlights Daily for bringing this to my attention. Buzzfeed, and by the way, let me if it's not there, I'm going to post it up again so that everybody can see, can find it again, just so that everybody can see. Yeah, okay, it's still up at Rumble, still up at Kick. Is it up at Twitch? Come on, Twitch, boot up here. Is it still up at the chat on Twitch? Well, if it's not, I will. No, it's not up on Twitch. Here we go. I will post it up on Twitch again. There we go. Okay, so it is at Twitch. Okay, now. All right, I don't know what was going on there, but so what does this have to do with BuzzFeed? I didn't even know BuzzFeed was still around, to be quite honest with you. When I was talking to V about this, it was like V's response was, "What? BuzzFeed is still around?" Yeah, BuzzFeed is still around. I was a little bit surprised about this, and I saw this at Manosphere Highlights Daily, and he gave a full-fledged response to it. I am going to give a full-fledged response to each of these as well. But the article itself, and I will quickly post up the the cover title here. Where the hell is it? Come on. Did I? Oh, Jesus, it's not on here. Okay, well, let me go find it here. Yes, it should be here somewhere. Come on. Oh, wait, come on. There we go. All right, let me just go back in here. Let me just find it because it's here somewhere. There it is. And there it is. Okay. This is the photo you're going to be looking at for a while. All right, this came out by BuzzFeed. This article, and yeah, let me just read the header down in the low bar here. Yes, BuzzFeed is still around. I was shocked as the next guy about this. BuzzFeed was notorious in the past for posting up really bad research slap about the manosphere. Yeah, they were. Really bad slap about the manosphere in the past. Apparently, though, they didn't get the message. So, writer and Azani Dazil Dutz wrote this. People are sharing subtle signs. Okay, this is ridiculous. People are sharing subtle signs that a man is red pill. So here are what the 18 red flags you need to look out for. A sign that a guy is red pill if he says, if we got married, you wouldn't have to work anymore. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Right? Like, probably up until like the 70s or the 80s, that actually happened quite a bit. Like, the man was the sole breadwinner. Like, how is that red pilled? That's not red pilled. That's like, that is what used to happen. It gets worse. There are 18 of these, and yeah, I will go through all of them just as quickly as I get some water in me first. my God. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow. Holy moly. Where did I stop off at? Okay, I'm going to have to go back. I don't know where this stopped off at. This is the problem when I have no when I'm by myself, there's nobody telling me that my microphone's been cut off. So I have really no idea. Somebody should have said something. Okay, so yeah, starting over again with topic number 3. All right. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize, right? But this is what happened. So yeah, when this all started, people are sharing subtle signs that a man is red pill. So yeah, this is Buzzfeed. Got to abbreviate it here. Yeah, people. I remember people going, it's like, yeah, I remember V was telling me, yeah, BuzzFeed is still around. Yeah, BuzzFeed is still around. And yeah, it is BuzzFeed. I was a little bit shocked that they were still around. Going to the low bar again to read this because I'm going to have to read it again. Yes, BuzzFeed is still around. I was shocked as the next guy when I found out about this. BuzzFeed is notorious in the past for posting at really bad research slot about the manosphere. Apparently, though, they didn't get the message. So writer Azani Bazil Dutz wrote this. And of course, again, right, the article is in the chat on Kick, Rumble, and Twitch. I am literally going to have to go all the way back to the beginning. I am sorry about this. This is my mistake. I will fix this in post. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to fix this in post. So, yeah, going to the article. People are sharing subtle signs that a man has red pill. So here are the 18 red flags you need to look out for. A sign that a red pill is if we got married, you wouldn't have to work anymore. Again, that's not red pill. That is what actually was generally the case, probably up until like the 70s or the 80s. That's not red pilled. It's not even close to being red pilled. Hold on a second. Now, on top of it all the water has rebrewed itself. So I'm going to have to take a little bit of a musical interlude here. So I'm going to put on Incertitude for about a minute or so till I'll go get some coffee. You'll get something to eat, but I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right, so yeah. Hopefully you didn't miss me. Apologies for the people who are listening. Yeah, I will fix this in post. Might even have to take this particular video down and repost it up with as the edited version. Okay, so yeah. Going back in. Black guy, probably not from North America, but anyway, we recently asked members of the Buzzfeed community to share subtle signs that a man is red-pilled. Here's what they said. In case you're unfamiliar with the term red-pilled, it's used to refer to men who are in the manosphere internet spaces to promote male supremacy and traditional gender roles. Basically, men who are red-pilled believe that they are disadvantaged, that men are disadvantaged, and the oppression of women isn't real. This results in misogynistic ideology and behavior. I can feel the stupid coming out just from that. First of all, the red pill is not gender specific. If you look at the Matrix movie, the first character that appears is a woman. Cypher? No, not Cypher. I can't remember her actual name right now, which is really weird because I've seen that movie a lot of times. At the start of the movie where she basically does all those tricks and jumps over that building. Yeah, in order for her to get there, and Cypher as well, and a lot of the other people on any of the other arcs that were up there retrieving guys out of the power plant up there, any of the females that got out of that system had to take the red pill to do it. Just saying, right? The red pill is not gender specific. The red pill, the original version of the red pill, the one that probably got more fairly represented in Total Recall, is the red pill is returning to reality and accepting reality as it is, not how you would like it to be. It's got no gender attached to it at all. It definitely isn't the Wachowski version, which is about transgenderism, because there are, again, and I keep saying this about this movie, and people will argue me to death, there are no fucking transgenders in the original Matrix series. I have had idiots argue me to fucking death on that point. There are no transgenders in the original Matrix movie. And by the way, the red pill didn't even get its origin in the original Matrix movies. It originated in Total Recall. So, yeah, and women do get red pilled. There is a blog, which I may have to go looking for now, on WordPress called Red Pill Woman. But yeah, let's just get into this. Because again, right, there's 18 of these. And yeah, try not to get... I mean, yeah, I did a lot of face palming when I did this. I'm sorry if I'm having to repeat this, but it's like, yeah, this happened. Number one, a major red flag is that they don't consume art made by women. If they don't listen to any female musicians or read any female authors, it is a sign they don't respect women generally. Okay, well, then I guess that totally explains why Esther Vilar and the Honey Badgers and Karen Strawn, and the book, by the way, that is considered a foundational piece for the MGTOW philosophy, Men on Strike, were written by women. Right? Like, yeah, it just blows my mind. It's like, yeah, I listen to female singers all the time. I watch stuff. It's like, yeah, from a personal point of view, this is bullshit. Are there guys that are out there that are potentially like that? Yeah, I don't even know who this Lila Trainer 10114 is, but she sounds like a fucking idiot, right? Like, might be a couple of guys out there that are like that. Here's the thing, right? The red pill actually frees you from that. That's the irony about number one, right? Once you take the red pill, once you become aware, once you become accepting of the environment around you, you don't give a shit. right? Like, wow, holy moly. Number 2, a sign of men is Rip Hills that he complains that he'll never experience being in a relationship when we BS like it's not BS. Only 10% of women are attracted to 80% of men, or 75% of ridiculous standards, and I don't like nice guys anymore. Men honestly believe that the number policy because it's much easier to use logic to blame women than to accept that a man is just possibly an asshole. Well, again, right? The very first topic I covered tonight clearly specifies that false accusers will target fucking nice guys for false accusations. That's the first topic I covered tonight, right? As for women having ridiculous standards, I mean, I have seen video after video after video after video after video of women like knowingly doing exactly what this guy is saying, right? It is not my fault that women don't like hearing this, but I mean, yeah, the numbers tend to play this out. You don't have to be, oh, by the way, this is a 19-year-old, so it's like, wow. As for women not liking nice guys, and I heard this off the Rational Male podcast, men in prison have more babies per capita than guys that aren't in prison. That's no one. I remember because I had to debunk this when I had to do that takedown of Mooncat. Good God, man. No scientific evidence to back up the fact that women dislike bad boys, except of course for the multitude of fucking articles that come up when you Google that. Right? Yeah, Mooncat took a very, very dishonest stance on that. She would claim that there's no actual scientific evidence. So she did that twice, and I remember that because she did that twice in that video. And when I went and I actually physically looked, and I had to because I was like the absolute confident arrogance and ignorance that Mooncat did when she did that I debunked the manosphere video pretty much required me to. The 2 times that she said that, and she was very, very specific and clear about that. There's no scientific evidence. There was no scientific, but there sure were a lot of fucking articles written about it, though. Right? So, yeah. Stating a fact that, and getting pissed off because women dislike that women are attracted to assholes when the actual evidence is there is just stupid. Number 3, the moment any guy says the words alpha, beta, or sigma, it's a red flag. Well, personal experience, when I was first starting out in the manosphere, the term sigma existed. Sigma really didn't take off for a very long time. I thought about using sigma as my handle or including it in my handle, and I eventually decided not to. I would qualify as a sigma male, although I'm not really overly concerned about this because, I mean, well, first of all, and again, I have to point this out. This is a 37-year-old male that's posting this, right? The definition at the top, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, whatever, like, I've had to point this out. Like, beta, depending upon the context that it's used, can still be a fairly potent guy. So, I mean, like a second in command on a ship, or the first AD on a film set. Like, those are technically beta positions, but nobody would be stupid enough to disrespect those individuals, right? There is, beyond alpha and sigma and maybe gamma, there is not really a strict definition of the word. So the word The words itself don't really have the meaning that they did. I have only been called alpha once. I have called myself Sigma a few times. But again, it's not a title that I will openly profess to everybody. Yeah, like these are outdated terms based on wolves that don't necessarily actively transfer very well to human social dynamics. And again, right, once you get past alpha, the whole thing starts to break apart, which is why it's not good. This is a 37-year-old male. He's from California, by the way. So yeah, I really don't know what it is. Okay. Assign a guy's a red pill if he says the phrase real man. In 13 years, again, in 13 years of being in the manosphere, I have only ever had one guy in the manosphere tell me what a real man is. You want to know who it is that I have seen? In fact, I've very rarely ever seen anybody in the manosphere go to any other man in the manosphere to say a real man would, because it isn't. I mean, first of all, right, let's just break down the three major groups. MRA, men's rights activists, it's not significant. MGTOW is incredibly and highly individualistic, and it's not really all that relevant. It is kind of relevant when you get into, for instance, oh wow, I'm down to just three people. It gets kind of relevant when you get into the PUA community, but not nearly so much either. You know, you want to know who it is I do see using the word real men? I see feminists using it a lot. And again, I'm just going to say this flat out. Yeah, feminists broke the social contract, right? They did. Sorry, they did. And, you know, part of breaking that social contract is that I no longer have to conform to what a woman decides what a real fucking man has to be. So they can just fuck right off. I see a lot of feminists using this word. I see a lot of women using this word. It's no longer relevant because they broke the social contract. Going on to number 5 here. Number 5, a sign when men don't have merely casual negative opinions about celebrity, but they vehemently loathe celebrity women. Taylor Swift is my go-to mention, as I've seen grown men have toddler-like hissy fits at the mere mention that I saw an Eras tour when I traveled to Europe on a girls' trip for emotional component. This is a 40-year-old woman who posted this, by the way. That had better have been a group trip. Taylor Swift has done some again, right? Just look at what Billie Eilish is doing. All right. On a scale of yes or no, is Billie Eilish getting blowback for her stupidity because she's a woman or because she said something stupid? Scale of the answer, it's one of those two. Which one is it, folks? You know, Taylor Swift has done some really stupid fucking stuff in her life, and I've seen a lot of celebrities do anything other stupid stuff in their lives. It's like, yeah, you know what? If you're a female celebrity, and there doesn't seem to be any shortage of female celebrities engaging in this type of behavior. If they're going to do something stupid, they're going to accept it. Yeah, you know what? Like, just fuck. You know what? Like, just start fucking accepting accountability. You know, and by the way, again, 40-year-old woman going to Europe to fucking see Taylor fucking Swift. Again, right? Don't want to start getting into stereotypes here. "40-year-old Swiftie." Enough said. Right? Again, I get it. Everyone's life path is different. 40-year-old Swiftie. Number 6, generally a sign when they have an it's all women mentality in order to place blame on women. They rant about how they can't get a date and it's always the woman's fault. Incels maybe do that, but incels are only tangentially connected to the manosphere. Incels are definitely not fucking red-pilled. because if they were red pilled, they wouldn't give a shit about all of this stuff. PUAs, when they're first struggling out, might have to deal with a little bit of this. There are a lot of God. There are some, maybe a lot, but there is a partial portion of the population in MGTOW that have this. But here's the thing, right? I have seen women engage in all men and try to shame all men for the actions of just a couple of them. One of the really big ones is most violent crimes are committed by men. Yeah, it's like most crimes against children are committed by women, right? It's like, yeah, it's sort of like I should be held responsible because some asshole with a fucking swinging dick. And by the way, this has come up recently with these two most recent shooters. Oh, well, they were male. Well, actually, they were both trans. But yeah, people went there. That shooter in Tumbler Ridge and that guy in that ice rink, they tried to deflect away by saying it was a guy. It was a trans, right? Yeah. First and again, right? Again, there with PUAs and with MGTOW, there is a process that you go through with each of them. When you're post-rage MGTOW, for instance, the fact that you're not dating anybody no longer becomes relevant. The fact that you're when you get across the river, to quote Mystery, a very, very ancient PUA guy, when it gets to that, when you get across the river and you get to the mastery level of PUA, it doesn't really matter either. So, yeah, again, right, to a certain degree, this is whoever this anonymous person is projecting potentially about themselves. Because, I mean, I see feminists doing exactly this thing as well. 7, a sign if a guy says, if we got married, you wouldn't have to. Oh, my God. I addressed this right at the start. This is just stupid. I mean, like, this is not red pill. This is traditionalism, right? Going back to traditionalism is not fucking misogyny, by the way. Wow. I'm seeing a lot of older people in this, which also really doesn't look particularly good. Number 8, one indicator if you talked about a future with you in the context of having children only. Well, why the fuck are you getting married if you're not going to have kids? Sorry, I got to ask that. Like, I mean, like, that would be my intent. Like, I mean, if I was going to get married, which I'm never going to, by the way. But I mean, if I was going to get married, I would probably have kids. Just saying, right? Not, and it's not just about having kids. I mean, it's, yeah, pardon the pun, but isn't that exactly what marriage is supposed to be about? Pair bond, have kids, like this. Yeah, this one just has me scratching my head. 9, an indicator that a man is red pill is if he believes Andrew Tate is anything more than a piece of trash. It's a red flag when they say Andrew treats women the way Andrew Tate treats women is understandable, because that's just what happens when a guy gets rejected too many. Well, first of all, Andrew Tate didn't get rejected all that much. 2, and I recently posted this up. So when Andrew Tate said, and he said this very recently because I posted this up, that if there is no serious movement on the Epstein files to throw people in jail, that it might just be time to completely walk away. And by the way, if you know a little bit about Tate, and I'm again, right? Oh, well, you quote Tate so much. You want to know something about Tate? I really wasn't overly familiar with him. until a couple of feminists, when Tate got arrested the first time, came in and said, well, your hero's going to jail. And it was like, oh, okay, I'd heard of the guy. But then I went over and started listening to him, and it was like, oh, okay, right? You know, this person who posted this up is, I mean, yeah, is Tate perfect? No, he's not. But, you know, when, you know, it's like, how does Tate treat women? Because, I mean, like, the charges both in England and Romania didn't stick. Just saying, right? Do I have to go back to this? Hold on a second here. Let me just post this. Let me just very briefly post this up. Let me just very, very briefly post this up. Okay? Post Afterglow fuck with Andrew Tate. Here, have a look again. Okay? Like, I mean, the irony about this, too, is that Tate is not even the biggest name in the fucking manosphere, man. Like, again, like, where are these guys getting their fucking information from? 10, a sign that they have a near constant victim or persecution confident result in blaming their own failures on others or using it to allege some giant conspiracy against men. Well, you know what? There is some suggestion that that might actually be the case. I know a few people in the truther community that are definitely not fucking red-pilled, or not actually. Some of them are actually very, one of the guys, this might sound a little bit, Nick Fuentes is very hostile towards the manosphere. Joe Rogan only had his first manosphere guy on very recently, and that was Andrew Wilson, right? Joe Rogan is not a member of the manosphere, folks. Never has been. Again, right? There are definitely people in the manosphere that fall into this category, and it's like, I would like to believe that things are just going along the way they're going along because that's how they're going along. The stuff that I'm seeing out there in the real world, though, very strongly suggests that's not happening. But to assume that everybody who is red-pilled is a conspiracy theorist, no, you just become more aware of what's going on, right? You know, you become more aware of what's going on, right? You know, it's like there are inconsistencies with the Trump shooter in Pennsylvania and with the Charlie Kirk shooter in Utah. There are definite inconsistencies there. There are, right? How does that make, and pointing them out makes me a conspiracy theorist? How? Pointing out the divorce stats and the child custody stats makes me a fucking conspiracy theorist. How? Right? This is stuff that you can go look up yourself. Right? Those 5 boys that almost got their love, those 5 guys that almost had their lives destroyed over a false allegation because somebody in Ottawa wanted the Minister of Sport, the Canadian Minister of Sport, wanted to push a trial that clearly never should have gone to trial. And the judge said it wasn't going to go to trial. How is that pointing out that never should have gone to trial? How does that make me a conspiracy theorist? How does it make me a conspiracy theorist, for instance? And I'm getting close to home here, that Alberta forks out way more in transfer payments than what it gets from the government. Sorry, how does that make me a fucking conspiracy theorist? I could go on and on and on. And to assume that these guys, like, I know for a fact that a lot of these guys in that community are not red-pilled. They're not part of the manosphere. Don't know who this 47-year-old male is, but he's a fucking idiot. Number 11, one sign is they don't take no for an answer when they ask you out. One way they'll do is by offering you an alternative date instead of just accepting that you're not interested. Well, did you tell them you're not interested? Maybe they're a little slow. Maybe they're a little determined. Again, let's break it down. MRAs are extremely careful about how they deal with women. If they say no, they will generally just move on. MGTOWs don't go around fucking dating women as a general word. A PUA, which is the other major faction of the manosphere, a PUA, if you say no, they will just move the fuck on. Right? Wow. Again, right? Simple little fact check would have actually helped out quite a bit. But again, right, we are talking Buzzfeed here. 12. A subtle sign when dating is what they present in terms of value. Well, that's strange because you see a lot of women judging men, and you see those videos, those shorts, where women are making these insane demands about how much money men are making and that sort of thing. So yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that it what the hell? Because they've been told that's what women care about. Though that's because they do. Right? That's been demonstrated to the point of stupidity. I once dated a guy who dropped the fact that although he's living with his parents to care for them as they age, their home will be a great asset for his future spouse after they pass. Sorry, how does that make him red pill? The same guy described his work to me in terms of disposable income and expected me to get excited that I'd have access to excess dollars more money if we were to get serious. Again, MGTOWs don't give a shit. You might get some MRAs that are like that. If this guy was a PUA, his fucking game is shit. Right? Dude's definitely not red-pilled if he was talking to you that way. Again, a little bit of research would have gotten me. So it was an early sign because later we broke things off after she was really quiet during discussion of the show Adolescence, which was a fucking crap movie and just a piece of propaganda. And then it admitted that we agreed that men are persecuted by women who reject them. It was there at the beginning, just subtle and disguised. Well, I mean, yeah, first of all, Adolescence is just like, wow, racist, sexist fucking crap. They kind of expected that out of it. Here's another one, 43 years old. You know, like you're not in a position to be picky at 43. Right? Like you're not. Just like, wow. Holy crap. Like just fucking wow. Okay, 13. One of the kids ask him, what do you bring to the table? Again, well, what do you fucking bring to the table, right? Like I'm expected as a guy to bring a lot to the table, right? Like a marriage or a long-term relationship is a cooperative effort, right? If I'm going to bring something of value to the table, she has to as well. And it can't be just her sexual fucking organs. And yeah, saying that I am the table is not a fucking answer. Right? I'm beyond giving a shit at this point if women get pissed off about that, right? Sorry, standards are changing. Put up or shut up. You know, it's like, yeah, like asking about a pairing, a long-term relationship which may or may not involve marriage involves a combined mutual effort, right? If you're not bringing anything of value into that relationship other than your sexual organs, then what is the fucking point? What is the fucking point? One son is a man who's very heavily into diet cultures and emphasizes only protein and eating pure foods. Huh? There's nothing wrong with watching what you eat, but a fully balanced diet includes good fiber intake, vegetables, fruits, etc. Exclusively high protein diets are indicative of dabbling in the manosphere. Big red flag. Well, fucking Mikhaila Fuller Peterson, carnivore fucking diet. Like, holy shit. Like, I'm starting to fucking lose patience as I'm going through all these, because it's like, again, right? I do hear guys in the manosphere, specifically in the PUA community, talking about diet and exercise and appearances and that type of thing. But I mean, yeah, it was Mikhaila Fuller who was talking about the carnivore diet. Go ahead. Feel free to fact check me on that one. I'm just like, holy moly. Like, like, seriously, where do these guys go? Okay, number 15, a red pill indicator is when they call women females instead of, women. I can feel myself, as I'm getting through this, I can feel myself getting stupider and stupider and stupider. Again, I've never, like, who the fuck says this? Right? Maybe if they're new to the manosphere, maybe they say that. I've never fucking encountered this. Again, right? A lot of what is going on is that maybe some guys are like purple pilled and don't know or haven't done the proper research and haven't looked. But it's like, yeah, like, I've never even encountered this one. And I mean, Manosphere Highlights Daily also encountered this one. It's like, yeah, I really don't know what to say. And by the way, this is a 38-year-old female in Canada saying this. That's like, where the fuck are you going? The fuck are you interacting with? Like, yeah, more context is needed. 16. One center is how they react when conversations of gender come up. I go to a large university in Midwest. The university tends to have a liberal leaning. However, the location in a red state makes a diverse mix of political views. Since I studied to be a teacher, some of our classes involve learning how to teach a diverse set of students, whether it be immigrants, ELLs, or people with disabilities. One thing that came up in multiple classes was gender and how to make sure your classroom is open and comfortable for any and all genders. Yeah, okay, fine. Well, there's only 2, by the way. I would always look around to see some male classmates either narrow their eyes at the professor or disengage for the rest of the lesson. If you have an education professor who's trying to tell you that there's 16 fucking genders, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in fucking, like, listening to that professor either. Right? This woman is, again, she's 22. She's just saying this about herself and just projecting out. Highly doctrinated. Yeah. While it is very important in schools to have an accommodating class, right? There are just 2 fucking genders. If you have, and by the way, guys, this is true, right? If you have an education department where you have professors that are teaching this style of class, go to report my professor. Make sure you emphasize that. Other people need to know what is going on. Period. End of story. 17. An indicator is that they make oddly timed and inappropriate statement about gender norms. Often this is the form of small jokes or insinuations where others do not agree with the man in question, since to get angry and frustrated. That could just be immaturity. Do I have to go into the number of jokes that I see women making about men, in particular feminists? Do I? Should I have to? Do you really want me to go there? No, not really, because I mean, I had to start all over again, so we were like at 2.5 hours here, so I don't want to drag this out any longer than I already have. But yeah, don't I see guys getting frustrated about stuff. This is not an indicator of anything other than maybe the guy's immature. I've occasionally seen guys get frustrated about this. The ones that I have seen that got frustrated about this usually had deep personal problems above and beyond not being able to get dates or whatever. So yeah. And there's 19, not 18. 18. A red flag is they get upset and seeing a woman existing outside of an assumed gender role or profession. I have never seen that fucking happen, ever. There have been some third world people that maybe get a little bit pissed about it, but I have not seen this. A woman working in construction, STEM, automotives, and so on. A woman wearing more masculine clothing, or a woman playing a contact sport. That signals to me that he does not hold a lot of respect for women. He sees them only exist in one role. Yeah, well, dollars to donuts, this is somebody from a third world country, right? Because it's like, I have seen female welders. There are some jobs which are overwhelmingly male, of course, right? And the STEM thing is actually fucking hilarious because, I mean, they claim there's not enough roles for women in STEM, but when they go into university, they end up signing up for psychology or education or some other. They don't actually sign up for the STEM fields for a lot of them, right? The only people that I have seen that get pissed off because there's a woman in a man's role is usually somebody from a really patriarchal country like the ones in the Middle East or from Southeast Asia or that type of thing, or maybe in some parts of India, right? Like, this is not. Don't know who it. I'm going to bet you dollars to donuts. This is not a Western woman who posted this. And finally, a sign of red pill men is they usually assume a woman is less passionate and knowledgeable about her interests and that she's into them for the wrong reasons. This is especially prevalent in nerd-related subcultures like gaming. Otherwise, seemingly nice guys have completely flipped in when learning I'm a gamer. Oh, what the? Especially post-Gamergate, like, holy fuck. Like, because they think I'm inherently worse at the hobby and using it to get guys. No, dude, I've been playing games since I was a kid. Just like you, you're just misogynistic. Victim complex. Okay, there used to be once a year, they used to have this big, huge-ass gaming tournament at West End Mall. And one year, I went upstairs because it was held at the ice rink. And I counted the number of men and the number of males and number of men and number of women at this event, males and females, right? And the ratio was something like 4 or 5 to 1. There are female gamers out there. Strangely enough, I actually watched a video recently about how an all-female team they actually forced this team into a tournament which they didn't qualify for, and they got destroyed in the first round. And and this has also been pointed out, right? And this is something that I'm noticing now that there's less disposable income, right? Like, when I went to the Edmonton Expo last year, 2 years ago, there was a significant drop in the number of people that were there, and specifically a significant drop in the number of women that were there. Why? Because there's less money around now. That's why. And you know, maybe and again, right, we also have to potentially take this into context here because again, she was talking about 18 signs and we're at 19, right? Also context, right? Like, is she one of those fucking gamers that fucking preaches and yells and screams at us uncooperative, right? Is she bitchy? Yeah, by the way, any progressives listening, any feminists listening, being a bitch is not a fucking badge of honor. Just letting you know. Um Again, a little bit more context is on it, but especially post Gamergate, again, I'm not a part of the gaming community. And yeah, it is entirely possible for a gamer in their teens or early 20s to have not encountered any female gamers at all, especially if they've been playing from home. Right? Like that is a real possibility here. So it's like, yeah, a lot of context of this. And of course, what are the subtle signs that a man is red pill? Tell us in the comments below or use the anonymous form below. Wow. Okay. I don't really want to get into the comments. This video lasted a whole lot longer than I thought it was going to. Mostly because I actually turned off my mic at one point. So I'm going to have to fix that in post. And I'm going to have to definitely do a re-edit on this. But yeah, this is Neroke 5. I want to thank the individuals that stayed with me for the whole thing here. And of course, now something's wrong. And my it's not flipping over. I don't know what's going on here. I don't want to have to restart. But anyway, yeah, let's just finish off with music. Thank you very much for listening to this. Yeah, there is going to have to be a fix in the post. So here's the outro music. Okay, let's try this again. Don't know what the hell happened there. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, there we go. All right. So, yep, that concludes this one. There's going to be an edit. Obviously, there's going to be a fix. And, yep, let's listen to the outro music on this. So,
Signal bleed.
Hi, this is Neroke5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribestar. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a good night, guys.